How's our market going, and what are some indicators of what's to come that you may not see? Yo, I'm Adrienne, longtime Florida realtor, and I'm here to help you get your Florida life. Happy Wednesday, everyone. If you're new here, new videos come out every Wednesday. At the end of every month, I do a market update, and today is that day. We are going to look at the numbers for Charlotte County and single family homes, and then I'm going to talk about some indicators I see of where I think the market is going. Let's start with single family homes. We look at the numbers in January because those are the most up-to-date released numbers by the Florida Realtors Association, and we'll start with closed sales. For closed sales in January of 2025, we had 330. Now, most of those went under contract in December or maybe even November. And then when you see that is up from January 2024, where we had 295. That seems like the market is going in a good direction, but when we look at active inventory, we see that we have a lot more coming on than coming off. In January 2025, we had active 3,775 homes. That's more than 3 times as much as in 2023. We are adding inventory at a high rate. If you look back to 2011, we were at 3,100 homes. Now, that number can be a little bit deceiving because realistically, just in general, we had a lot more inventory, or we have a lot more inventory now, a lot more homes to sell. The area is just bigger and more populated. But it is alarming to see our numbers over 2011. And you can see that it's not quite a great comparison when you look at months of inventory. We are at 8.9 months in January of 2011. We are at 11.6 months. 8.9 is a very strong buyer's market. It's not quite as much of a buyer's market as January 2011. But we are still headed in there, and we're going to talk more about that in a second. If we look at the median sales price, we are at $350. You can see for the last 6-8 months, we've been kind of hovering around the same area, but we are down in general. Our high in the last many years was in November of 2022. And that was $412,000. That is why we call it a buyer's market, because we are seeing prices go down. Now, of course, everybody asks me, how long is this going to last? Should we list our house now? Should we buy now? What's happening? Next week, we are going to take a deep dive into the concept of a buyer's market. As we get further into it, I realize that while most people understand it at some level, they just think prices have dropped. They don't realize that it's actually very hard for buyers, or they realize it's very hard for buyers but don't see the flip side. We're going to really get into that next week. So stay tuned or subscribe if you're interested in that. But I want to talk about some very basic early indicators of what I think's to come that I see as a realtor that maybe you see, maybe you don't. First, and this one I don't think you see, is our lockbox situation. If you've ever sold a home, you know that a realtor often puts a lockbox on your home, or if you bought a home and you see the realtor go and to get the key out, they have a lockbox on the front door. Now, there's many kinds, but often these days we use something called a super lockbox, and in Charlotte County, this is not true everywhere, our Association of Realtors loans them to us. Recently, the association has lent out so many lockboxes that they had to order new ones. They were sending us emails, please audit and see if you have lockboxes anywhere. We are running out of lockboxes. It has happened in years past, especially in January, where they have been out of them, but I have not seen this kind of rush to get them back in a long time. I am at the association usually at least a couple times a month because I'm on our grievance committee. I also am part of a Toastmasters group that meets there. And I have noticed when I go in where they set them up and line up the lock boxes for people to pick up, it is a lot of lock boxes out. That means there's inventory still being put on the market, still being added to the market. That continues this buyer's market, that keeps that going. I also ask our photographers, but I hire out photography, and the photographers I know are very booked up. Some of them have said it has become a little more steady instead of crazy, but because they are booked, that is signs that inventory is still coming on our market. And then the third thing I look at is just a quick look at the market every day, numbers wise. Maybe some of you do this as well, but we get what's called hot sheets. And I have noticed that almost all year, almost every day, it's about 2-to-1 listings coming on versus new pending sales. That means the inventory just keeps growing. Now, there were a couple of days, about a week ago, where it was about even. We saw new listings and new pending sales about even for a few days. So we have had some blips where it's evened out, but even when it's this balanced out, that's not enough for the market to change or even balance out. We have so much inventory. Imagine a store where they keep ordering, let's say they sell shirts, and they keep ordering shirts and people come in and buy them, but they're not buying them at the level that they're getting delivered. So we have a lot more inventory. They would have to lower those prices to get some of those shirts out of there to attract more buyers. And again, we're going to talk more about that next week. We do have a little hope. Mortgage rates have dropped in the last week, very mildly, seemingly every day, but just a little bit. But if this continues, it could really help us. I also talked to my insurance agent the other day, and she said kind of the same thing I just said about mortgage rates. Insurance has seemed to level off a little bit. For a while we were seeing hikes and hikes and hikes, and now it's kind of leveled off. It's still high. I'm not here to tell you insurance in Florida is cheap, but it is nice to feel like every time I get a quote, it's not getting higher and higher. Little bits of hope are happening. It's not enough though. Therefore, I see this buyer's market going on for quite some time. If you have any questions, if you want to take advantage of this buyer's market, if you want to buy in it, I'd love to help you. Please reach out. My contact information is below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.